Over the past 100 years, many of the island residents express themselves through art, with crude beach sculptures constructed from driftwood to the more sophisticated media of acrylics, oils, metal, and even glass. The creative minds of island residents were expressed. While I don't have examples of all the artists of Sand Island, the follow represents some of them. The oldest examples I have are from the 1920s and are mostly from East Bay artists. Shaw Point artists take center stage in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, with examples from several residents covering multiple generations. I will present these creative artists as I find their examples, starting with the earliest and working my way up into the 1970s. Auguste Lawfield, shown here inside the Sand Island Schoolhouse before 1928. She was the teacher there for at least 1 year, maybe more. Auguste was from an old East Bay family. Her brother Magnus married Carl Odahl's sister Mabel. The Lawfields weren't regular year-round residents, but did spend a lot of time on the island before 1945. Her watercolors were simple but evoked warm memories of a less complicated time. This winter scene brings to mind the Robert Frost poem, Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening. Whose woods these are, I think I know. His house is in the village, though. He will not see me stopping here to watch his woods fill up with snow. My little horse must think it queer to stop without a farmhouse near, between the woods and frozen lake, the darkest evening of the year. He gives his harness bells a shake to ask, is there some mistake? The only other sounds the sweep of easy wind and downy flake. The woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep, and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep. I'm guessing this watercolor by Auguste is of a rock promontory on Swallow Point, north in East Bay. She, along with the other artists on the island, found their inspiration from the buildings and nature around them. Francine Nelson Hansen. She was married to my uncle Jake Hansen. Here she is pictured with her daughter sitting on the Hansen front steps on Sand Island. Her mode of art was pencil or ink drawings. The Sea Caves on Swallow Point by Francine Hansen. These have inspired artists for many decades. I would think that indigenous peoples felt the same sense of awe for hundreds of years before we lived there. Generations coming after us will admire the caves too. This drawing by Francine has been seen quite often in Apostle Islands publications. The Dorothea was Fred Hansen's fish boat and is shown here moored at his dock in East Bay. Son Jake Hansen inherited the family business and fished off Sand Island for several years. Some artists transitioned between East Bay and Shaw Point. 3 of those artists were Peter Yench, Mari Madsen-Dahl, and Mary Hewlings Rice. Although all were Shaw Pointers, Mari did many watercolors of East Bay landscapes, and Mary spent a great deal of time visiting in East Bay. Mari was about 10 years older than Mary, and may have been an inspiration for her to pursue her own passion for art. Many of their subjects were from scenes around Lake Superior. Peter painted a couple of scenes from East Bay before doing many of Shaw Point's subjects. 2 artists from Shaw Point on their way to East Bay on Sand Island. Both Mary Hewlings Rice on left and Mari Madsen-Dahl became artists of note. Mari's Sand Island artwork already has been highlighted by me in the tribute to her that I did following her death. Below are shown 2 of her watercolors from Bayfield. Also, some of Mary's and Peter's works are on display below. All 3 of these artists recently passed away. A watercolor of Mari Madsen-Dahl's depicting a fish tug and a sailboat pulled up for the winter at Wrighton's Boatyard in Bayfield, Wisconsin. Another Bayfield scene by Mari. This one looks to be from Badine's boat dock on the south side of Bayfield. Mari and my brother Fred lived in Bayfield for several years before moving back to Marquette, Michigan, where they had raised their children. Our second transitional artist is Mary Hewlings Rice. Shown is her painting of the old shop building on the Hewlings grounds at Shaw Point. Although ready to cave in for about 70 years, the building still is standing as a reminder of what island life was like way back then. Mary had an eye for small details that helped to tell the story in her paintings and pen and ink sketches. Above is a sketch of the beach house that was once the post office at Shaw Point, Sand Island. Peter Jentzsch left, and his brother Tom are shown sharing a happy moment in their cottage on Sand Island. Another favorite subject for photographing and painting was the decrepit Moe's loggers' dorm in East Bay. Peter Jentzsch took some liberties with this rendering, but he caught the mood. Another of Peter's paintings of an East Bay subject, Swallow Point with East Bay in the background. Of additional interest is the pond net and boat to the far left. On close examination, this is the Hockessin boat Twilight. The rebuilt Twilight sits just outside the Park Service office in Little Sand Bay. A pond net was never this close to the caves. Shaw Point had more artists than East Bay. This possibly was because they had more leisure time there, but primarily they had more artistic talent. In addition to Mari and Mary, there were many from the Point who practiced their artistic endeavors. Among others, we have Peter Jentzsch, watercolors and oils, Phoebe Jentzsch Bauer, sculpture, Fred Kimmer, glass blowing, Kurt Jentzsch, architecture, and Eric Jentzsch, film. Unfortunately, I don't have examples of all of their work, but below is a sampling of some. Three of the Jentzsch boys, Eric, Peter, and Kurt. This photo was taken at one of the Jentzsch annual summer dinners where Bayers met Pointers once again. There were many paintings over the years of the Jentzsch cottage. This particular rendering is by Peter Jentzsch. Sand Island Light, also by Peter Jentzsch. This was done after the White Tower had been removed. Peter's watercoloring of the shop at Hewlings Beach. This old structure was a favorite of various artists over the years. The Jentzsch family bonus. Phoebe Jentzsch, Aunt Phoebe, drew this when she visited the Palace of Versailles in the 1930s. Phoebe was a regular during my stays on Sand Island in the 1960s. Thank you to Catherine Rice Hayes, Mary's daughter, for sending me several photos of Mary's work from over the years. Mary painted scores of scenes from the area during her 80-plus year creative life. This one is a scene of Hockessin's dock in Little Sand Bay. She did a good job of capturing the mood of Jack Erickson's Donnabelle, named for his wife, Donna Walksmith Erickson. The Hockessin dock has been rebuilt by the Park Service after being destroyed by the recent high water storms. The little green patch seen in the background is Eagle Island. Mary Hewlings Rice's rendering of the Hewlings compound. It was a popular subject for many of the artists at the Point. It was done after 1980 as a yellow windowed addition, and the structure to the right were added in later years. Mary stayed in the addition to the right for many years. She had a temporary art studio just out of the painting scope, also to the right.